More determination.
You paid?
More current affairs.
I've just been on the radio saying we wouldn't...
Tonight on Attitude, where do you go when you're young and funny?
Well, I'm 16. At that age, I am Australia's youngest comedian.
And believe fame and fortune are only a few jokes away.
Everyone tries to get into TV, and TV's not the answer.
I reckon you just need a lot of piss farting around to get into comedy. That's the short answer.
Hi Sam, and welcome to 7:30 Saturday night.
Oh, get out, Oz, you're in the wrong channel. Welcome to Attitude. We love comedy. In fact, 7 out of the top 10 TV programs watched by young people are comedies. But how many people under 25 are actually in those shows? Only a handful. Tonight, we look at the prospects for up-and-coming comedians in an industry where the desire to learn has been replaced by a desire to earn. And we get the advice from the professionals for 2 hopefuls trying to climb the ladder while they're young, think they're funny, and armed with a routine to kill.
I do stand-up because you get to sleep in every day and you don't have to get up for work.
You can make comment on things that disturb you and put them in a funny way and I suppose even inform people at the same time.
I do a Queen Elizabeth impersonation.
Desire for people to like me who would normally have beaten me up before I ever got up on stage, I think.
Being the Queen, I find that my family is the most normal, down-to-earth family around.
I'm a pretty casual act. I'm not really into heavy swearing, heavy petting, none of that.
I'm 23 years old. I'm going bald. I just think life is a big joke.
Shut up, please, corgis. Shut up. Thank you.
Okay, well, there's me, a 16-year-old comedian. Doogie Howser, a 16-year-old doctor. What is next? A 16-year-old Prime Minister, maybe. Can you imagine his first announcement? All school kids can go home. This is the recess we had to have.
Delicatessen, telephone call line 1, delicatessen line 1.
Silent flight. Thursday?
Sorry?
I want to be a comedian because it's something that I enjoy, it's something that I can do, and I believe it's something that God has set out for me. Something that I can do in a way to pass on his word. 10 slices? Okay. Very thin. Okay. Do you know where the knife's gone?
Chris Halliday is 16 and bills himself as Australia's youngest stand-up comedian. He's performed at various comedy venues around Victoria.
Just like disappears.
Chris left school a year ago to concentrate on his comic career after his first appearance as a comedian on the New Faces Junior Edition last February.
Act 5, please welcome Just Chris.
Auditions came on television for the New Faces Junior Talent Special, and I can't sing if my life depended on it. I can't dance, I can't do magic, I can't do anything. And of course you can't just go on New Faces and act, sort of thing, you know, just like you can't do on Paradise Beach, one of those. But, you know, so I got a few jokes out of joke books and told them, and it worked, and I got on and came last. Being school holidays, I've been reading some really interesting books. Some of those books have included... went up to do the first thing, and there was a big fat man standing in front of the monitor, and I held up the card and said, "The Bank Raid by Dynamite," and no one laughed. And I'm like, what? And I looked around, and I still had the blank card in the front of all the other ones. Sorry, a bank raid by Dynamite? Oh, well, red as a cucumber.
I thought it was funny.
I didn't think he would be on TV.
Chris has been a comedian from the day he was born. Chris has loved to make people laugh from the day he was born. He just loves comedy, loves life. He's got a great energy for life, great enthusiasm for life, and loves it, loves making people laugh. It really is ideal for him.
Speaking of Mum, my mum would have to be the hardest person in the world to get along with. Like the other day, she said, Chris, go to the shop. I said, fine. She said, don't answer back.
Do you think they're going to find that funny? They might not.
Chris's mum, Cheryl, is very supportive of his comedy career. In fact, most of Chris's material is written in collaboration with Cheryl.
I want to write some Christian jokes because I think no one's done those sort of things before, and they're something that I think I should do.
Chris was, I think, 2 or 3, and every toy that Chris had heaps of toys, but if it was a truck, if it was a whatever, it was a stuffed toy, it was a microphone, and Chris would run in with a teddy or whatever he had in his hand, and he would run around the hallway every day at 12 o'clock because Mike Walsh was about to come on, and he had to announce Mike Walsh.
Ladies and gentlemen, on stage right now, would you please go absolutely wild, because you may get on telly, your applause may be heard, and you can say, Mum, that's me. Ladies and gentlemen, Sir Catherine Bryan, let's hear it for her.
Catherine Bryan is 17 and lives near Colac in Western Victoria.
I'm the kind of person who's never done anything wrong. If anybody was ever doing anything wrong, I'm the first to go, excuse me, they're doing something wrong. Can you tell them off, please? I think I'm the kind of person that grows up to be a Mormon. I'm not too sure.
She also wants to make a career for herself in comedy.
I want to be a comedian because it's all forms of art form rolled into one. I can write, perform, direct, all that sort of stuff and it's all relying on me. It's a test of my skills as a performer and everything else. But, you know, I sat down to write the routine. I thought, I've got 3 one-liners, I can do this. I've got the one-liner about my brother being so tall, he needs a brick on his head, preferably with the house attached. Every time I perform, I feel I die. On stage, I come off and think I've done really badly no matter how well it's been. I just think, oh, it's horrible, let's just go home. So every performance for me is like dying. And I thought, I can do this. I died. Yay! My friends think of me being a comic. I think a lot of them think that I should just settle down and get a real job or something like that.
The people at school don't really know Catherine as well as her comedy. Like, she goes on stage and, like, she'll only take a couple of people to see. And, you know,
she doesn't broadcast
she's really
it much.
Self-conscious kind of thing. Like, if she's going to fail, she wants to do it by herself. Like, she doesn't take us all along with it. But
so she's taken herself to fame and fortune and not taking us along with her.
Catherine is a finalist in a statewide contest for young comedians, which is where she met Chris, who was performing at the heat she won. Catherine asked Chris for his phone number that night, and they've spoken every day since. She invited him to her high school ball, an invitation that he accepted, unaware of how many dance rehearsals that would actually entail.
I hear you say you're going to practice to dance.
Yeah, we had a ball practice on Monday night, which is why
What are you going to learn? The pride of air?
Yeah, pride of air, and I've got it written down here somewhere. I've got it written down here somewhere. What did I learn? Pride of air and the Palmer Waltz. The evening 3-step and the tango edge.
3 go, 1, 2, 3, right, and 1, 2, 3, right, and 1, 2, 3, right, and 1, 2, 3, right, 2, 3, right, and 1, 2, 3, Chris, you do what you want.
Congratulations.
When I first found out Catherine was interested in comedy, I was a little surprised because she's such a quiet student, but I can always depend on her for an unexpected interpretation or an unusual answer. Wherever she's going. She's so determined and so set on her course. She's just going to be successful. I know she believes in herself, and I think that's really important.
Thank you. We'll be back very shortly.
Well, for me, my ultimate goal in comedy would be that, I want to get about as popular that if I want to go somewhere, the people who run the place will say, hey, Chris Halloran's coming, in we come. But if I get past that stage where people on the streets and stuff and all that sort of, jazz, cool. If I don't, I'm not going to, chop my legs off or kill myself or anything.
My ultimate goal in comedy is to make a living from it. If I get really rich, that'd be great, but I honestly don't think I will.
Okay, we are recording.
The Australian comedy scene has changed. It's now a big business, and getting ahead is getting tougher. For young comics, comedy has become more than a fun pastime, it's a career. The TV comedy boom of the 80s created a career path for comedians. While the established talent moved into television, young comics missed out and lost their mentors as the stand-up comics they learnt from migrated to the small screen.
With the growth of television comedy, I think people became more aware that that there were opportunities and the things that they could aspire toward. I think the danger of that is that they don't do the background and the homework. One of the great opportunities in the early days was the chance to go and do these gigs virtually for nothing, the Flying Trapeze and upstairs at Le Joke, and some of the best comedians did stuff on a basis that if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, and they didn't get paid a lot of money for doing that. And it's not the money that's critical, it's the chance to test stuff out. The odds of a person getting their own television show are really slight. But having said that, I'd say, why do they want their own television show? Be a lawyer, be a tram driver, go around, deface posters, find a newsreader poster and write something on it. Go and get Bob Hawke pissed and get him to say something funny.
Don't listen to the people who say no. Don't listen to anybody. Listen to yourself and just go for it.
Michael Hirsch is one of the most influential people in TV comedy. He manages the D generation and doesn't believe young comics should be discouraged.
Well, people say that comedy is a serious business. Bullshit. It's fun. People say that it's, luck at the right opportunity, all those type of things. Crap. Work hard, hassle the shit out of the employer or potential employer. Don't give up. Don't take no for an answer. Work and work and work and hassle the shit out of them. And wear check jackets, they help.
Hey, crazy cats, come on in!
I've done a whole string of seemingly pointless things to keep going while I learnt enough skills to be able to get to the point that I'm at now, which is, in a lot of people's eyes, no point at all. But, for me, I feel like I've come a fair way. I've worked in factories, I've worked as a waiter. There's a lot of cliched stuff there. I've done portraits from photographs in pencil and scraped money from people for doing that sort of thing.
Here they are, the cast of Full Frontal. Welcome them, please.
After 10 years drifting through Melbourne's comedy circuit, Paul McCarthy is now ready for success. Success he hopes will come from treating comedy as a business and taking a tip from Judy Davis.
And she went to see some people at NIDA and was lecturing the students there and said the best thing you can do for yourselves once you graduate is buy a briefcase. And that to me represents what you've got to do in terms of performance and becoming successful. You've got to, if you don't have a sort of professional attitude about it, then every time a joke doesn't work when you're on stage, you're going to get so upset about it that you'll never want to go on stage again.
While Paul is waiting to be noticed, Eric Banner is busy becoming a household name. His success shows how treating comedy as a career, not just a lifestyle, can work. After just 3 years doing stand-up, he's joined Seven's Full Frontal.
When I started out doing stand-up comedy, I'd never really saw myself doing stand-up for 10 or 15 years and just plugging away and plugging away. When I took it on, I thought to myself, I'll give myself 3 years, see how far I can go with it. And it was always with the intention of landing on television or film. I don't think I could have gone on just endlessly doing live pub work for years and years and years.
I'm telling you right now, okay, that a team of champions will always beat a team of other champions.
Yeah, it's what I'd like to envisage myself doing for a long time. So for me, it's very important that I treat it like a business and treat it seriously as well as for what it is, being comedy, but at the same time being very serious about it and treating yourself as a commodity and as a business and trying to market it for the long term as well.
Anywhere. New talent can happen from school plays, it can happen from university reviews, it can happen from people at parties, it can happen from social environments. It's really up to the individual who is willing to give it a go. If that person thinks that they want and have the passion to succeed, then, go for it.
You can hone it, you can practice it, you can learn stuff, you can develop it, you can polish it, but at the end of the day, you've either got it or you haven't.
If you're going to do stand-up comedy and you haven't got good posture, you just won't make it.
If you want to be a success at comedy, you've got to arrive at your first gig in style.
If you take my advice, my boy, you'll look after your teeth, otherwise they'll be laughing at you for the wrong reasons.
My favourite comedian is Billy Crystal. Isn't that right, Billy?
What I do? In my opinion, the most important thing about comedy is timing.
But what are the odds of Chris and Catherine making it in comedy? The boom of the 80s grew out of a comedy scene that nurtured its young. With that training ground gone, advice from successful comedians is hard to find. Attitude set out to rectify that situation for these two budding young comics.
Whoa!
So what do you think?
I think it's fine. No problems at all. I think a bit of delivery problem and stuff like that, but on the whole, I think there's definitely stuff there. Daryl Summers built a career on a hell of a lot less.
Well, you've seen the act now, and what we should do is take you down a meter.
Sure.
So you can have a chat and do that stuff.
Oh, Catherine!
Mr. Ferguson.
How do you do? Nice to meet you. You well?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, good, good. I've been watching you on the telly. Oh, fine, thank you, fine. Been seeing you on the television?
Bad, horrible, yuck.
Looks very good, looks very good.
You fire away.
Great, no
We're
idea.
talking about comical character development.
Comical character development. Is it hard?
Yeah, well, I've written a flow diagram here. See, X equals development, plus R equals reality quotient, plus your attitude. Now, if you divide them by 2, that's an exponential relationship. It's non-linear. Oh, no, it's not linear at all.
Tim Ferguson started his career as a busker in Canberra, but these days he's better known as one of the Doug Anthony All-Stars.
It's tricky having the one joke that you know is going to work, because every time you want it to and you pull it out of the back pocket, it's just not there. As Anthony Morgan says, your joke has become a sentence somehow. And it was a joke before and it's just a sentence. And it's vanished. But yeah, it's good to come out with just one line without even saying hello. Just come out and say, Princess Fergie is so fat when she sits around the palace. She sits around the palace. Ba-dum-tsh. Catherine has to work on everything that she's doing. That's not a criticism, but it's, if there's any advice, you've got to cover every angle, every possible angle. She's got to work on heckling responses, material, delivery, the way she walks on, the way she walks off, the way she breathes, the way she looks, the way she approaches it. Her whole attitude can constantly be honed and improved.
And everybody else is quite... But that second most important rule is never jump out of shot.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I'm here.
Okay.
We took Chris to Rob Sitch to talk about the secrets of comedy success. Sitch is a founding member of the D Generation and star of the current affairs satire Frontline.
But anyway, back to the graph. So we got to the reality coefficient. Now, if you take that and divide it by 2, 2's the main number in all characters, and then multiply it again. I've forgotten the coefficient, but it's in the dictionary. The coefficient of comedy. It's something like 2.47 repeating. Okay. Now, and you multiply everything by those 2. Sorry. Multiply by 2, divide by the comedy coefficient, and then you reach a bit of a dead end.
Even Jamoan describes his rise to the top as meteoric. After just 3 years on the comedy circuit, he's now got what Chris Halliday desperately wants, his own TV show.
Stand-up's not like riding a bike. If you stop doing it, you become
very bad at it, so you've got to keep doing it. If I don't do a gig for a couple of weeks, I'll feel rusty.
Really?
So I've got to keep doing it. That's why I'm doing, even though I'm recording the TV show and that's quite a lot of work, I still book stand-up gigs just so I can write more material. Everyone tries to get into TV, and TV's not the answer. I mean, TV's good for documentaries, and it's good for current affair programs, and it's good for the news, but it's not very good for comedy, to be quite honest. And if you go on TV as well and do spots on TV, I mean, you burn your material, it's dead, it's gone, so therefore you have to write new material. So you just put yourself in a situation where you have to write new material, and you find...
Just happens.
You find, yeah, it's like jumping into the water and then learning to swim. See, when you stand up as a stand-up comedian, you fall and you rise by what you say. As a performer, these are your thoughts, and there's not so many people that have an input into what you do, so therefore, you know, very often you could fail being on TV because of someone else's decision, but because it's your face, people remember you and go, he's crap.
If you aim everything at what you think others will enjoy, you'll start to dig a very big hole for yourself. Just do what you think is going to work and do what you like, and there's bound to be like-minded people out there. I would imagine in 5 years' time we'll be looking at Catherine peering at us through a television camera, and I can't see any reason why not.
See, look, I'd hate to bring back to this. You really didn't read the flow diagram, did you?
Sorry.
See, development plus reality coefficient, leading into attitude, multiplied by 2, divided by the coefficient of comedy, which is 2.477 recurring, of course. And that's an exponential relationship, not a linear one.
Sure.
So, okay, so don't, you've just...
Sinking in, yeah.
You left that. You just went off on your own tangent. There's a lot of science to this, Chris. You're just bullshitting me out. If you're not going to take this interview seriously, I can leave. I mean, my time... I'm advising a lot of big people at the moment.
Okay, I apologise. It's cool.
You know, I mean, it's just
from now on. Yeah.
I'm working on a book on this sort of stuff. How to be funny when you're not.
Right. Okay.
See, my advice won't sound very much like a parent, Chris, but I reckon you just need a lot of piss farting around to get into comedy.
Right.
That's the short answer, right? You just need to piss fart around, because piss farting around is funny, and being serious ain't.
I've learned that in comedy you can die, that you can be resurrected and live again, and that it is as much fun as I thought it would be, even though you do die.
I think one of the main things that's changed in my thinking of comedy after meeting these people is that to treat it a bit more seriously than I have been, because it's something that you do have to work hard at, and you can't just click your fingers and be there overnight. You've got to work at it and at it and at it. And this is something I've really got to start doing.
Catherine and Chris have had a lot of coaching. What have they learnt? Attitude took them along to Melbourne's Star and Garter Hotel so they could test out their newfound skills.
OK, would you go absolutely burlesque and welcome on stage right now first? Came off the rank, cameras rolling. Yes, the lovely, the talented, the personal friend of mine, Catherine Bryan. That's it.
I always like something long and hard in my mouth, but true to form, I can only find this soft bit of chocolate. Well, we can tell we've got an intelligent audience here tonight.
Hello. Okay, my name's Chris. Before I start, I just thought I'd share this with you. This morning I woke up to find that I put my neck out. It was scratching at the door. Okay.
But I was standing on the lid of our septic tank the other day, rocking backwards and forwards, as is my wont. All of a sudden, splish, I'm up to my knees in waste products, and I thought, oh gee, I'm really in deep shit now.
Well, I'm 16. At that age, I am Australia's youngest comedian. Know I do all the pubs and clubs around Melbourne. Gets a bit difficult. I'm the only comic who needs fake ID to get to work.
Just remember, some of you here tonight haven't got what I've said, and there is no fury like a premenstrual red-headed Aries scorned with a tin of green paint. Good night. I'm glad it's over. I was really nervous about doing it. I thought it was going to be as bad as last time, but even if it was, it didn't sink in that it was.
I feel pretty good coming off there. I mean, it was pretty weird tonight because there were some jokes that there was silence, but then there were others who were just cacking themselves at, and it's just the best feeling, being on stage and having people laughing and having a reaction to something you're doing that just comes naturally.
The odds that I'll end up in comedy, I hope, are fairly good. I hope I've got the guts to stick with it until I make it, even if I just keep annoying people until I do.
Chris has another vocation for which he feels a calling, and he's still in the process of deciding between the two.
Excuse me. One of my friends went to a Salvation Army church, which is something I'd never heard of before. So I went along, and I suddenly had this massive religious experience, sort of like a big feeling saying, you weren't brought up in a religious family, so we've shown you, like, this, the way I get it is that I wasn't brought up in a religious family, so I was shown the caring side of the Salvation Army so that I'll come along and get into the religious side, and that's sort of how it happened. And I've had, you know, I'd like to go, if comedy and performing doesn't go out, another option, which I'm still sort of deciding on, is going to Salvation Army College and becoming an officer.
But he just continued on. And during those times where he felt like tossing it in, giving up, that mission to win 5 world titles just drove him on through that pain threshold. I think he's got the potential to be a really good officer because he's got an interest in people and he's able to develop relationships really well with people. He's an infectious sort of character when you've been around him for a while because he's just bubbly and easygoing, humorous. He's good, and I think those attributes are really handy.
I'm leaving it up to the guy upstairs, and the way I see it, what he wants will happen. So if he wants Salvation Army, that's where I'll go. If it wants comedy, hopefully something will happen in that arena.
X equals development plus R equals reality quotient.
They bank raid by dynamite and no one laughed.
That's an exponential relationship. It's not linear. Oh, no, it's not linear at all.
Don't listen to the people who say no.
If you're not going to take this interview seriously, I can leave.
Just go for it.
I'm working on a book on this sort of stuff. How to be funny when you're not.
Do you think they're going to find it funny? They might not.
What?
Plus your attitude. Now, if you divide them by 2... Timing. But anyway, back to the graph.
Next week on Attitude, why is it still cool to smoke? In the meantime, tell us what you want to see on Attitude. Write to us at PO Box 9994 in your capital city.